The Chronicles of Allimir, the Dowry of Fuerrta. Chapter 7. Return of a Stranger. Anon restrained Allimir, pinning his arms to the ground. "Calm, my friend," he shouted, attempting to make himself heard above the agonizing screams. Anon looked on in horror as a wound appeared on Allimir's face, as if an invisible foe had taken a sword and placed it in his mouth, slicing down slowly, painfully, exposing a gaping wound of flesh and blood. In blind panic and revulsion, Anon thrust himself backwards, scrambling, pushing his legs away in an attempt to escape the terror unfolding in front of him. Then suddenly Allimir fell silent. Anon strained his neck upwards, peering cautiously at his companion. A faint light began to emit from the fresh wound, gaining in luminosity, until Anon's eyes could no longer endure. He covered them with his hands, but still the light grew, burning as if the sun itself had fallen from the sky. Anon began to scream, unable to escape the all-enveloping brilliance. An explosion of light pushed Anon violently to his back. Then all was quiet. Allimir opened his eyes. Looking down on him was Anon, smiling. "Still Allimir the Sleepy," Anon joked. Looking bewildered, Allimir asked, "What's going on? Why are you grinning like an idiot at me?" "Just a little relieved to see you're still in the land of the living," Anon said. "How long have I been asleep?" Anon interrupted. 3 days. I felt sure you were dead at first." "The last thing I remember is bedding down for the night," Allimir said, racking his brains for the missing memories. "Probably for the best," Anon announced with conviction. Allimir raised his voice, starting to get a little annoyed. "Well, tell me then." "Here." Anon handed Allimir his polished steel shield. "Take a look for yourself." Before he even saw his reflection, Allimir knew what he was about to come face to face with. The tingling he had felt, the nightmares, the anxiety, the curse. He looked upon his distorted reflection in Anon's shield. His head dropped, eyes closed, dizzy with the rush of thoughts engulfing him, hopes, dreams, acceptance, love, fading before his eyes as he gazed upon an old enemy scarring his face. "Allimir?" Anon inquired, concerned. Allimir continued to gaze upon himself, desperately fighting to come to terms with the enormity of the crushing disappointment he was now feeling. "Allimir!" came Anon's voice again. Allimir looked up, the voice shaking him from his downward spiral of thoughts. He stood, handed Anon his shield, and spoke. "Come, my friend, we have a quest to complete." "That's what I like to hear," Anon said, smiling, slapping Allimir on the back. "Let us be off to glory, or the gods take us for trying." This was the last time Allimir dwelled on what may have been. The potion of a generatus hadn't been a permanent change, but what lay before him gave him hope and purpose, driving him forwards in search for happiness. He'd gained the knowledge that his father had loved him and was willing to risk everything, something he wasn't able to say before his quest into Skyrim. His will was now steelier, more determined, less emotional. He would do anything to achieve his goal. Fuerrta woke, as she did every morning, looking to the northern horizon, in hope that her most precious desire would meet her gaze. It had been 12 moons since her love Allimir had left. The words of Tekar echoed hauntingly in her ears, growing in strength as each day passed. "He's dead, you know." She strained her eyes, willing them to search further than their capabilities. As she looked, something caught her attention. A bird, maybe, or a mirage, tricking her eyes into believing something was there. There it was again. There was definitely something moving. A tiny speck at first, flickering in the distance. As she gazed, barely breathing, the speck began to take form. 2 riders. Yes, it was definitely 2 riders, she said to herself. Could it be? Dare I dream? Her heart now pounding in her chest, she dressed quickly, running to the arched entrance of Falanesti. From around the curve in the road ahead came 2 figures, riding proud, heads held high. Recognizing one of them, Fuerrta fell to her knees crying, an absolute and complete release of emotion overcoming her. Rise, my love, came a familiar voice. My quest is complete. Allimir offered his hand. Not daring to look in case she woke from this perfect dream, Fuerrta took the hand and rose to her feet. Slowly she moved her gaze upwards to a face she had begun to think she may never see again. Yes, it's me, my most precious, Allimir said, smiling. Fuerrta suddenly felt weak, her legs giving way. Allimir caught her, pulling her trembling body close to his chest. It's me, my love, Allimir whispered. I have returned to you. Okay guys, that's it for this chapter. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button and subscribe to the channel, and join me next time for the final chapter in Allimir's adventures.